The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
Welcome to the Against All Odds podcast. I am your host, Rachel. We have co-host RJ, and we have Brandon Novak in the house today.
Yeah, what a day to be here.
Yeah.
It's like fucking raining outside, and I get lost, and I'm walking in circles around the lot here.
Oh, you got lost just trying to find the...
I decided to take a detour to the cafe.
I just
next
realized
door.
Jenna texted me, and she was like, can you go outside? Brandon's lost. I didn't see it until just... So,
but it
my
was
bad.
really self-explanatory in front of my face. But I'm prone to taking the long way around.
Yeah.
Most things in life.
Relatable.
For sure.
Same.
Or I think it's the shortcut.
Yeah,
totally.
You know what I mean? I think it's the shortcut.
But it's
I'm
the
like,
long way. Yeah.
It's so funny. I did that. So I parked.
Yeah.
I could have went left through this parking lot and came directly to the door, but I'm like, nah, I have a better idea. And I went through the neighboring parking lot where then
that
I
little,
had
like ice cream.
Well, there was
spot
a guy.
is.
He was bringing trash out of the back. I don't know what it was, but and I'm cutting. I swear to God, I'm cutting through bushes, a thing of bushes while it's raining, so things are pretty muddy.
Yeah,
and I could have just taken the really easy path that was right in front of my face.
No, you were like,
I swear to God, I literally just did that.
See, that was my stepdad since I was a little kid. He was always like, you always try to take the shortcut,
but
and
it's
your
the
life
long
is
way.
so fucking difficult.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck you. I remember just being so pissed.
I'll
dude.
show you, Dad.
Like one of these days, it's gonna work.
Yeah.
You'll see. You know what I mean?
He's just fucking laughing.
Yeah,
still.
dude, it's 15 years of just misery and just, you know.
Well, that's how I always say I got to where I am at today through process of elimination, but backwards.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I failed so miserably long that ultimately the last thing I tried was the first thing that worked.
Right.
So I am
right.
like aces at telling you how to fuck your life up. That's one thing I excel in is like bad decisions that equate to terrible outcomes that later on I regrettably fucking make. And now I'm just like, dude, it's an easier, softer way.
Yeah.
And plus I'm 46 and I'm more about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. How
And
do
I
we
like
get
to go to
efficient?
bed at
you know?
9 p.m. and
Same, dude.
things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shit, man. I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to hear your story, man. I mean, obviously, a lot of people know your story. I remember you were on CKY, right?
Yeah. That was the beginning.
Wait, what is CKY?
It was like the original kind of Jackass.
Yeah.
Like before. I mean, it was
It
was
kind of
dope.
gave
It shaped
birth
a generation.
to all of that. It was kind of similar to like what YouTubers are today.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it originally was a band called Camp Kill Yourself.
Ooh.
And it was Bam's brother's band,
Okay.
Jesse Margera. He was the drummer. Chad was the bassist. Darren was the vocalist. And since then, as all great bands do, they've broken up and added new fucking people. And it's just, I mean, they're still together, but just different components. And but so back then, Bam's dad was like the dad of the century, and he was the quintessential perfect version of what a father should be. He was he worked at the bakery at Acme, barely made by, and loved his kids unequivocally. So I'm from Baltimore originally.
Yeah.
And there's another pro skater out of Baltimore named Bucky Lasik. And Bucky kind of, was my idol. He was my idol, and I wanted to be him. I wanted to emulate him. I wanted to dress, act, skate, look just like him. And he took me under his wing, I think, because he saw potential in me. And ultimately, he got me sponsored by PAL. But in that timeline, we would come up to a skate park in Pennsylvania every weekend called Cheapskates. And that's where we met Bam. And Bam was, he was my age, he was my height. We, literally kind of like a doppelganger, dressed alike, looked alike, skated alike, really like transition skaters, contest skaters, really good at putting lines together. And when I met him, I'm like, fuck, this kid is going to be a problem, because he was great and he was an awesome kid. But I'm like, dude, we're going to like really go at it in the skateboarding world.
Right.
And at the time he wasn't sponsored. I was like just getting on flow for Powell Peralta through Bucky Lasik. Bucky was already pro for them. And, as time progressed, I then became fully sponsored, and every weekend we would go to Bam's house, and Bam's dad would be there filming with the old VHS camera, and just tons of footage. And that's how Bam and I had met. And to kind of fast forward this story up, somewhere throughout that process, Bam's career with skateboarding completely excelled. He took advantage and became a household name. Mm-hmm. Mine totally got derailed, and I chose to pursue a life of heroin.
Right.
So
there was sort of like an intervention or something, wasn't there? Or like, where they try to get you to stop?
Yeah. There's been multiples throughout our fucking career of us with Bam with me. Lots of that. It's kind of full circle a lot of moments.
Right.
But then, so I kind of go and I'm doing what I do, and Bam becomes this household name, and decides that he's going to he was really ahead of his time, and he decided he was going to make these skateboarding videos, but he wanted to add more like entertainment to skate videos instead of it just being like a full on part after part after part skater. So he decided he was going to start adding like pranks and skits into these videos of his friends that weren't even skaters, like DiCamillo, Dunn, Rab, Raekyan, and those guys didn't give a fuck less about skating. They were just really good friends, and they just fucked off together. And so Bam would edit these videos, but then edit in clips of like fucking with people and fucking with them and prank calls. And that video, those videos, the very first video, that's the videos that kind of netted him his first $1 million. It became, it was when you were still selling like hard copies to skate shops, and they just sold rampant. So that goes insane. My career goes to shit. He does a demo in Baltimore one day at a skate shop, and I had avoided skateboarding at this point like the plague, right? Like it was like the love that had got away, like the coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I didn't like to speak about it. I didn't like to look at it, think about it, or do it for that matter. But when times got really bad, I would like venture into this skate shop and I would try to get some money from them. And this day times got really tough. And I went into the skate shop to try to get money. They're like, no, but Bam was here yesterday and he was doing a demo with the team, and they asked if we ever saw you. We said no. And he said, well, if you do, here's my number. Give it to Novak and tell him to call me. So I take the number. I call him. That night, I'm on a bus from Baltimore up to Philly. And soon thereafter, I'm living with him. But he gives me my very first cameo in the CKY video. And I'm not thinking much of it. And it comes out like some time later, but I had since fucked off and went back to doing heroin. And I remember being in a Denny's one night. And the waitress, she's like, you're that guy. And I had no idea that the movie had come out. I had no idea that they used this thing. And she's like, you're that. And I know. And it was my part in that CKY movie that kind of was like the first thing that started to put my name in the public spotlight. And so that's, I don't know how the fuck I went on that tangent, but that's where the CKYs came from.
But that was kind of the start.
It was the beginning for me.
When did you start using heroin or fucking, when did drugs start taking a bigger
for me,
part of
it
your
was
life?
at 17. I was given this ultimatum through Pal and my team captain at Pal Peralta, a fellow by the name of Todd Hastings. They had called me with a bunch of drugs and they kicked me off the tour. And I get a phone call from Todd, and he said, look, Novak, we have one of two options we could do with you. We can put you into treatment. You can save your life. You can continue to skate for Pal, or you can quit the team. And I had received my very first skateboard at the age of 7, right? So from 7 to 17, I ate it, I breathed it, I slept it, I dreamt it. I had fucking become
your
it.
life, yeah.
Yeah, and for the very first time, someone is attempting to stand between me and my addiction. And I'm so ill-equipped and unknowledged about the subject that I'm up against, meaning addiction, right? Like I'm underestimating the reality of this situation so fucking badly that I have no idea the world of pain I'm about to embark on. So I'm given this opportunity to take advantage, get my life back, and continue to fucking thrive. or quit. And literally, I don't have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I said I quit.
Yeah.
You know, and literally at that moment, I had like married the fucking game and realized like this is the deal.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
And it allowed me to do what addiction does. It allowed me to check out for me. It allowed me to have to stop looking at me, which is what I did to the best of my ability, literally every minute of every day, was avoid me from me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was rad for a long time,
for sure.
until it no longer was rad.
Until it didn't work anymore.
Yeah, because my life was like dude, I've had some of the best times of my life under the influence.
For sure.
I would go back and do it in a heartbeat. I fucking have done things that people would think are completely unimaginable.
Right.
But for me, and this is my story, and I don't pretend or protest to understand anyone else's path that lands them to where I'm at. I won't disrespect anyone like that. But for me, my story looked like it was a full-blown fucking rager, and then it turned into this full-blown hostage negotiation where I was like no longer allowed to leave, and I really wanted to leave.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when reality kind of set in. Fuck.
So wait, so how old were you when you first started drinking and using?
Well, I believe I was genetically predisposed, right?
Okay.
My father was an addict. His father was an addict. I came from a very successful lineage, right? A thorough background. My mother was a nuclear physicist on the board of Mercy Hospital. My brother is currently an attorney who works in the White House practicing pensions and benefits.
Wow.
My father never held a job a day in his life, and he taught me one thing, and that was if and when I went to prison, how to conduct myself. And he rode with the Hells Angels, right? So he was a rather unsavory kind of fella, if you will. And he acquired the liking of crack cocaine. So ultimately,
what an
his
interesting
body is shut down.
I mean, you got a mom who's a nuclear physicist.
Yeah.
And this
She like
is
the
your
bad
dad.
boys.
Wow.
Legit. And God knows, does it all make sense now? And that's kind of life, like in retrospect. And my life is literally just live forward and learn backwards.
Right.
But love makes you do weird fucking things.
For sure.
And I get that. I see that. And my father, the guy who I despised, I couldn't stand, and actually proved a point to excel at everything I did in my life, to let the people I love the most know that I would never be that fucking bum of a man. Ultimately, I made him look like a fucking walk in the park.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of healing throughout that journey and that process. I remember even when I'm fucking shooting tons of dope, I still go see this therapist. And one day I walk into my therapist's office and she said, "Look, Mr. Novak, I'd like you to do 2 things for me." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I want you to go dig 2 graves." I said, "For what?" And she said, "One for you and one for all this baggage that you're carrying." And I'm like shooting speedballs fucking for a living. And that had the ability to penetrate through this really big fucking thick wall that otherwise was unpenetratable.
Right.
And I like...
Why do you think that is?
I believe God saw fit to put her in my line of fire that day at the right time, in the right place, surrounded with the right vibe. Right. Because I could have heard that a billion times. For sure. Even in recovery, right? Like this shit, and I always talk about it. I fucking treatment. I've been to 13 treatment centers, and I assure you, and I own treatment centers, and I fucking run groups every day. And the shit that they told me at treatment center number 13, the shit that I run today with my clients is the same exact goddamn thing I heard at treatment center number 1.
For sure.
Right? Like the rhetoric doesn't change. Yeah. It's just recycled, refurbished, repolished vocabulary given to you, usually just at a different place by a different face at a different time. I believe for me, my experience was that it didn't change. I had changed. I continued to like mature and evolve and realize that like I'm not indestructible. I'm not indispensable. And more importantly, the pain continued to get greater.
Right.
And that for me is the only thing that will provide willingness to do anything different than my day to day. Because I'm wired with like, if what you say to me doesn't make sense, it's fucking wrong. That's just the way I'm wired before I shoot dope, right?
Yeah, or you better really convince me.
Yeah.
It's better really.
It's and odds of that happening are slim to fucking none.
For
and
sure.
Slim's out of town. Let's just be real. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt because ultimately I need to get something out of this transaction. Everything is like self-serving. So I'll play that game with you, but ultimately I know that it's not gonna. I'm fucking insane. But the point is that like that. I forget where the fuck I was at.
Yeah, she said the right thing. At the right
so
time.
she said the right thing.
How
at the
old
right
were you
time.
at that time?
I was like 24, 5, 6. Life's been a blur for a lot of years.
Yeah. So then what happened after that moment?
So ironically enough, my father had passed away some years before. I get a call one day. I'm shacked up with this woman. And I'm kind of like making do, but not really. And I get this call, and they say your father's on life support at the hospital. You're the last of kin, and we believe that you need to come up here and give permission for them to pull the plug. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's a pretty heavy cross to bear here. Like now I have to play God and fuck. And I'm like a dope fiend. So it's just an added response. You're really getting in the way of my day to day here.
Yeah, for sure.
I have other plans, not doing this today. So nonetheless, I go to the hospital, and my father's name was Jerome, and you know, at 7 years old, I came home one day, and my mother, he was a crazy biker, right? And we had this big house, this rancher, and all the bikers would fucking just hang there. And one day my mother came home early from work, and he had me on the back porch, and he had these papers drawn up, and I was about to sign these legal documents through his really crooked lawyer, a guy named Jerry Sukup, who I think is passed since then. I don't know, but she goes, Rome, what are you doing? And she grabs the papers from him, and he had these papers drafted up to have my name legally changed to Jerome. So at 7 years old, I was about to go from Brandon to Jerome because he thought that was a logical decision because he's Jerome and his father was Jerome. So if my mother didn't fucking come home early from work, you would be talking to Jerome. Right? Which is a really weird juxtaposition. That's the way he thought. But nonetheless, so right on. I get that.
In any event.
I get that, man. Like I get that now. So later on, he passed. So I walk into this hospital, and I'll never forget it. It was a very it was a spiritual experience for sure. They have him in this bed, and they have the wires and the tubes in every hole of his body, and they're dabbing his lips with like a piece of sponge, right? It's wet, and it's like giving moisture to his lips. And I see him like kind of like I guess trying to drink it or suck it, you know. But he's out. He's on life support. And I walk in, and I said, hey, Dad, I'm here. And I swear to God, and I'll never forget it, he stopped like sucking on the thing, and he kind of just let loose of his body, and he passed.
Wow.
He passed.
Holy shit.
So you didn't have to do anything.
No.
Yeah.
And I
just got
really
chills.
believe that the man was waiting. I believe that.
Yeah.
God bless him. But I'm still caught up in my addiction, right?
Of course,
So now when I leave the hospital, he's indigent, right? So they call my mother wasn't fucking with him for a long time. None of my family was fucking with him. He was not. He was a sick man, and he did a lot of sick things. And they said we have his ashes. You have to come get these, or they'll be thrown away. So I said, throw them away. And my sister actually convinces me to go get these ashes and keep them. And I'm like, I don't know why. It was really weird she did that, but I do. And
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
So these ashes remain in the trunk of my car for a while. And I remember one night, and I have a documentary coming out and of my life and kind of like the talk that I give. There was always cameras around from CKY's video BAMs.
Right.
There was cameras rolling. And BAM was always really interested in my addiction stories and just addiction as a whole. But one night we're in his kitchen and we're fucking doing blow and we're partying and it's like 4 or 5 in the morning and we'd always paint. We'd get canvases and we'd start painging and just creative fucking cokeheads, right?
Yeah.
Doing all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah, late at night. Yeah, for sure.
And I'll never forget it. I remember thinking to myself, I have my dad's ashes in the car. So I run out and I get the ashes and there happens to be somebody filming there. And it's not like a great production, but there's like iPhone footage of this.
Yeah.
And I go and I get the box and I come out and I say, I'm like, well, if my father never gave me nothing, at least he'll give me a free high. And I cut the bag open, put it on the table, and we cut 2 big rails. And Bam and I sniffed 2 fat fucking rails.
Fuck up, dude.
And then we proceed to we take his ashes, mix it in the paint, and make a really big fucking mural of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, shut the fuck
So,
up.
and then the cleaner, after we were done partying that night, she cleaned and saw because the box was still on the table.
Yeah.
And you have footage of this too.
Yeah, and put whatever remainings were in the box, and then I, the next morning I kind of come down and I put the box back, and then I remembered I could never forget what that therapist told me about digging these 2 graves, and it always stuck with me. And not too long after that, I went back to that rancher house. I hopped the fence in the backyard and sat by this tree, and I just fucking let the ashes go in the backyard there. Right. And like so even before I got sober, I kind of started making amends and I kind of started righting my wrongs. Yeah. And became at one with that man and totally have nothing but respect and admiration for him. And humanity has a way of right sizing you. Yeah. Right. For me. For sure. I love being right sized by humanity because again, I don't know about you, but I possess this job that consists of knowing everything, right? So good luck trying to like convince me otherwise. Yeah. And I was right sized by humanity through my father to see that other people in my day-to-day daily interactions are all doing the best with what we have. Right. And my father got his instruction manual from his father. And his father got his instruction manual from his father. And they were all fucking drug addicts. Right. Why the fuck wouldn't my father do that? The
things that he did.
Yeah. It's unrealistic of me to think that he would do otherwise. I'm the fucking fool in that equation. Right? And then I learned throughout sobriety, everything comes back to self. There is no their part. And I had an amazing sponsor early on who said, fucking get those words, their part, out of your vocabulary. Exactly. And then once I was able to do that, I was able to become accountable for my actions, look at the part that I play, and know that what I can control is my thinking, my attitude, my behavior. The moment I walk in here with an expectation of you to say a certain thing or feel a certain way or be a certain, I've set myself up for fucking anger, resentment. Absolutely. And then the book talks about resentment as the number 1 fender to an alcoholic that will take us back to drink. So, I had attempted to get sober so many times, and I really believe that I was that guy that talked about this constitutionally incapable. Yeah. And I was, because I refused to get honest with myself. Right. And it wasn't that I wasn't doing it intentionally. It was just that I really underestimated the opponent that I was up against. Yeah. It's called alcoholism. Yeah. And little did I know alcoholism was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, which is just kind of keep me away from me and seeing who I am. And it just, I don't know. Things get weird. Yeah. They get weird. But then they don't get weird because so I'm going to these treatment centers and I'm like, dude, I can't get it. I can't get it. Yes, I see it works for you. I see that it works for you. Right. Fucking cheers on you. But It can't. It won't. And for so many years, I thought that no one in the world knew that I had a problem but me. And then I fuck around and find out that everyone in the world knew that I had a problem but me.
Yeah.
I'm the last person to show up to the fucking party to realize, because I'm too smart for my own good, and I know everything. Right? Yeah. And fucking, it is what it is. But looking back now, it's really easy for me to recognize all the synchronicity in life's events that have landed me right here, right now, that prove to me unequivocally, like this fucking cup of tea is in my hand, that the God of my understanding has been doing so much more, so much bigger, and so much broader than my fucking little feeble mind could ever conceive of.
Yeah.
You know, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, so even if I fucking shot dope in rehabs, which I have, even if I shoot dope in meetings, which I have, and even if I leave to get high, which I have, none of those attempts were failures. None. Because these seeds were being planted along the way. Right. That when the right person appeared at the right place at the right time, and all was right with the world and everything was aligned, what I had heard a million times, I'm now going to hear a million
finally
and one,
clicks.
but it's going to fucking land.
Exactly.
Right? And then it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the skies parted and I walked across the fucking water, and I'm on my way to, God willing, my last treatment center at 38 years old. I'm in this druggy buggy. There's this fucking, God bless her, really annoying fucking young girl driving, and she's just blaring Sublime, and I'm in a fetal position in the passenger seat, like just wanting to fucking kill myself so bad.
Kicking dope.
But everything.
Yeah.
And she's like singing, she's happy, she's fucking joyous, she's free, and I want to fucking knock her teeth down her throat. And I remember thinking to myself on that way to that facility, I get it. It all is clear as day. And this thing is so fucking simple. Mm-hmm. I am my problem.
Yeah.
I am the common denominator in every one of my fucking problems.
Right.
And if I just get the fuck out of my way and ask one of these people at this goddamn treatment center that are basically like the furniture, every time I call, they're there, for a little bit of guidance and assistance, my life actually could change. But I had tried that so many times that I wasn't running that game, because I learned, and I remember saying a lot of times, like, this is it. I'm done. It's no longer fun. I don't enjoy the repercussions from shooting speedballs or eating Xanax or drinking meth. Like, I'm done. And then I meant it. And then, you know, I'd wake up tomorrow and repeat yesterday's behaviors and be stuck in Groundhog's Day for like 20 years. So this last go round, and it was all God, it wasn't me. And I'm not fucking religious, but I'm really spiritual. I learned how to just shut the fuck up. And to be quite honest, if you haven't been able to tell, I really enjoy my own voice. But my words held no more weight.
Right.
I couldn't even lie to me anymore. I couldn't even buy my own fucking con I was running on me. And that's a bitch.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then the dope stops working. Yeah. Right? So I'm no longer allowed to disconnect from reality. This delusional effects no longer produce, which allows me to, like, you know, not only endure homelessness, but like prefer homelessness. Right? You give me a speedball and I'll tell you why there's a million reasons to be homeless. I'll sell it. But now, no matter how much dope or coke I shoot, I can no longer escape this drab, fucked up reality that I've created as a direct result of shooting dope.
Right.
So now I'm having this moment of clarity, high and sober. Fuck.
Yeah.
What do you do at 38 years old and you've pissed everything away, and everything you own in life consists of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, a stick of deodorant, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order, and a passport, oddly enough. And it all fit into this bag that doubles my pillow. That's all I fucking owned at 38.
Yeah.
And despite doing some successful shit, I fucked. And for the first time, that outcome was unaccepting to me. Like, it was no longer it. And what I learned is that it was completely self-induced because I had seen other people take advantage of the very same opportunity I had.
Right.
And they ran with it. And they're no longer homeless. They no longer come home to all their shit on the front porch. They now like pay bills and seem to enjoy life and don't want to fucking shoot dope in shooting galleries all day. And I'm like, fucking letting men blow me for one more bag of dope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be this way. And I'm really intelligent. Like I'm the kind of guy that if I can believe it, I can see it. And you can't tell me I can't make it happen. I do that in my sleep. It's what I do. I'm wired that way. And now I'm like fucking breaking the woman's heart I love the most, which is my mother, making her cry herself to bed every night. Like, no one told me that was the end game.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. Right.
You know, no one told me that like you're going to be in a place that you're going to regret being in and you're really going to want to leave, but you're not going to be allowed to leave.
Right.
And that I don't do well with confined spaces. I don't like to be a prisoner of any confines. Right. So, yeah, it all made sense, dude. And it became, so I got to treatment and for the first time in my life, I didn't fucking talk. I just walked.
Yeah.
I walked. I changed. You told me that the dope and the coke wasn't the problem. It's the solution. The problems are the thinking, the attitude, and the behavior. Right? It was impossible for me to think myself out of the position that I had thought myself into.
Right.
It defies logic. So I get into a place where I'm beaten into a state of reasonableness. The pain becomes so fucking unbearable. I'm finally willing to do what I had never done before, which was to fall in line, buy into the process, and start changing my behaviors. Right. I'm changing my behaviors. I'm walking differently, which means I'm changing my outcomes. I'm feeling differently. I'm looking differently. I'm starting to believe differently. And now that I've changed my behaviors, I've then changed my outcomes, which now means I can change the way I think about myself. Right. It had to go in that order. I always thought if I just sit the dope down, now I can change the way I think and then I'll change the way outcome. No, I was just so ignorant to the reality, and rightfully so. That's what it took for me.
Yeah.
And
we also don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And we can't know. Right. I think that's part of the journey. Right.
And if I did know, I'd fuck it up anyways.
For sure. For sure.
Think about any miracle that's ever taken place. If you told me the miracle was going to happen at 9:48 Wednesday morning on the corner of 3rd and Arch, I'm showing up Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. on Front and Center, expecting, miracles happen when I am unexpecting or unknowing of them. Yeah. And it usually for me has all happened through terrible experiences that I know today were simply me being divinely inconvenienced.
Yeah.
So it was all intentionally done by design. And that's a thing that I work hard on today, is allowing everyone's process to be their process.
Yeah.
Because
it's hard.
Coming up on saying you're sober, I'll believe I have a fucking really good idea on what things should look like for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And all of a sudden now Brandon's become Brandon's God, and I got this, and you're at fault and you're wrong, and now I'm creating these resentments against you, which means that you're no longer my brother or sister, although I say God's child. So now I've created separation within community, which is the only thing that works for me to stay sober.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just alcoholism doing what it's supposed to do. So yeah, it's all mind fuck. I love it.
For sure.
I get off on it.
Yeah.
Did you all always have some kind of belief in God, or did you have a problem with that when you came to the program?
Fuck.
Yeah.
If you told me to fucking at the end walk into a room, get naked, fucking carve swastikas on my forehead, stand on the corner on my head and jerk off for 30 days straight, I'd be like, just point me to the spot. Like
that's where you were at. You were like, I'll do whatever.
Dude, I was down for the cause because for me, and this is just my story, the fear the fear of returning back to the pain created from active addiction far outweighed the fear of like creating a relationship with this imaginary figure that I've only heard about. Fuck off,
For
dude.
sure.
Like let's run it.
Yeah.
Like nothing is ever going to do more pain, damage, or hurt to me than I allow my addiction to do to me.
Come on.
So like, what the fuck I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. And the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't give a fuck about God. I did the steps because like it was the only thing I had never done. And I wasn't really having much of an experience from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. But what happened is, and what I know to be true today is they, you may have heard people say this, the God of my understanding brought me to AA, and AA via the 12 steps have brought me back to the God of my understanding. And what happened throughout working the 12 steps is I had a spiritual experience. And the definition of a spiritual experience is simply a psychic change. So I, Brandon Novak, today no longer look at shit the way I did when I was in my inpatient 90-day facility. I've been completely rewired. I mean, I don't act the same, but more importantly, I don't react the same.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have a very clear understanding of the reality of my situation. And I can, I'm no longer ignorant to the reality, which means I can't stay stuck on stupid no matter how much I'd like to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that fucking
it's just,
sucks
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool though, because it's just not that heavy.
Yeah.
Life is whole is not that heavy.
Right.
I know heavy, and you walk into my office in my facility, clients will either find it very motivational or just completely want to shoot dope after they leave that office. It's humongous, probably as big as this tapestry here.
Yeah.
The actual corner where I ended up at the very end buying all my dope, and it's still a working dope corner. And the boys are out there serving, and I commissioned this artist to go shoot like literally a live.
Yeah.
And it's that humongous. So clients are sitting in my office, and there's just
looking
like
at the dope corner.
legit the boys, and they're out there
In
serving
Baltimore.
in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then like over here is the very first store that I ever bought dope in front of, and like I get off on that I get really, it's a euphoric feeling for me. I have this really strange place in my heart for that time in my life, because without that, and like there would be no this.
Correct.
And I firmly believe that I went through that to be the child of God that I am today.
Right.
And there's nothing I love more in life than skateboarding and drugs. And today I get to do both, as far as like skating all day and night whenever I like. It's beautiful. And then drugs and alcohol, I'm just as consumed as I was before by them.
Yeah. Just on the
The only
opposite
difference
side.
is I don't use them, and I'm
Yeah.
provided a very beautiful life from them.
Right.
And all that is my my poison has become my medicine.
Exactly.
Right. And little did I know that the magic that I was in search of was in the work that I was avoiding. So all you have to do is just lean into the fucking process, and then just like, I'm a fan of fucking getting down with it.
Yeah. I think the hardest part is just being able to lean. I was in and out of the rooms for 10 years before I even thought to work the steps, and like, then I look back at that decade that I was trying, but I just wouldn't do it. How the fuck it was like, people were telling me to do it. And then one day, all of a sudden it was just like, oh, okay. I've been going to these meetings all these years, and they say every single meeting, work these fucking steps and get a sponsor and do the thing. And then like one day, a decade later, after I'm trying to do things my own way for so long, it just like,
and I'm sure it was the same matter of fact kind of meeting.
Right.
Same
No, yeah, it was the
matter-of-fact
same
kind of
shit.
people in
I just was
attendance.
able to hear it.
You were just in a different place.
It's fucking, it's wild.
For sure.
Well, it's like what you said. It was like the pain got great enough.
Yeah, exactly. The
I'm
desperation.
not the kind of, you're not going to get my attention when shit becomes unmanageable.
Right.
Unmanageability to me is literally a Monday morning cup of tea. You will only get my attention when the pain becomes unfucking bearable.
Right.
My back has to be against the wall. I have to be optionless. I have to be carless. I have to be hopeless. I have to be moneyless. I have to be loveless. I have to be clothless. But then for me, and this is my story, but then you that window of opportunity for change is about the same size as a $10 bill. Right? Because I'll come up on a 10, I'll put that thing in me, and then I'll be like, oh, whoa. This is just an overreaction at best. They just called me at a bad time on a bad way and a bad day. Tomorrow's going to be the day that's going to change. Right? So it's just, It's interesting.
Yeah, goddamn, that's so true.
It's really interesting.
Size of a $10 bill.
It is, dude.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
But fuck, I think the game's changed. I hear them say now there's like $3 bags of fentanyl.
Really?
Oh yeah,
like,
fentanyl's cheap.
If you're ill today in the dope game, you have no fucking business being in that game.
Yeah, you got no hustle.
$3 fucking. You
well,
can't go
here's the
with
thing: is with
$3.
fentanyl, it runs off. It like wears off
I hear
so
it's
much
totally
faster,
different,
so
yeah.
much faster. Like you have to It's almost like crack. It's like the opiates of like crack
it's
of
the
opiates
crack of
now.
opiates,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
consistently do it. There's no like doing a shot or doing a few bags
That's what
and you're
I've
good
heard.
for
And
a
I heard
little
the
bit.
detox is different.
Yeah. It's like
all
I
just
got
weird.
out of the game like right before. It was just
Same.
starting to come around in New York where I was.
When did you get sober?
2018.
Okay, so I was 15, and it was just showing up in Baltimore, like shortly thereafter.
Yeah, it had just. But now that's all there is. There's no real heroin anymore. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see heroin at all at like your facility with guys coming in, or is it's mostly fentanyl?
Yeah, it's mostly fentanyl.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It's different.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it's going to change also into the future. You know, I feel like there's always going to be something new, something different.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I becoming a treatment center owner. I was of the notion before of like, we help everybody. You have to help everybody, and fuck, everyone deserves scholarships, and rightfully so. Everyone deserves the help, and I believe that. Until I then became an owner of a facility, and I had to like make payroll, and I had to pay all the therapists and the fucking the food cost, all that, and then I'm like, well, fuck, it's a little hard to just give out these scholarships to everybody.
You coming in here for 6 months is going to cost me.
X. So that's again the way the world kind of right sizes me, right? And then I'm like, okay, so now I kind of, which I like, that as I evolve, my perspective on life evolves, and I'm just continuously changing and looking at things differently, and even down to that perspective has changed. But today with the clients that come through, right, of just the way they act and the way they carry themselves, and they're just completely incapable of accepting reality and just disconnected from reality.
Right.
And I want to fucking wring their necks. I want to like punch them in the face. And I'm like,
especially when you see like a certain level of entitlement.
That is I.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it. And everyone gets a turn, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Everyone gets, but the cool thing is what I've learned is the longer I stay sober, the more I know I have no fucking idea about much. Mm-hmm. And that's cool because it rids me of a lot of responsibility. Because I like to think that like I am the great I.
Know it all.
And
I have to have the answers.
What I say matters, and it's going to be life changing, and you need it. And it all goes back to really the simplistic shit of AA of like, it's so much better to understand as opposed to being understood, right? Instead of it coming in here and standing on my fucking mountaintop, giving you peasants the answer. So what happened for me? This is what my life as a whole is. I came into this world as a king. Straight up. And I've worked my way up the ladder to become a humble servant.
Right.
And that's literally how I do my best to conduct my day to day. And when I start to divert from that, my mantra that I say on a daily basis is think less, do more.
Right.
Think less, do more. Because this thing will talk me out of anything good.
Yeah.
Anything.
Right.
Anything. So I literally think less, do more. Think less, do more.
Do you remember that first treatment experience?
Yeah, I do.
What walk me through that.
It was fucking depressing, man.
How did you end up going, and like what?
Well,
what
I
did that
went
look
to
like?
prove a point to my mother and then girlfriend that this was an overreaction.
Yeah.
Right? And that I did not belong. And those people were my father, and fuck you. And that I could drink and do heroin successfully without repercussions.
Yeah.
Just had to like rearrange some of the players in the game.
Figure it out.
The scenarios.
Yeah.
and will equate to better outcomes. And
How old were you?
17.
17. Okay.
And I went into my very first treatment center in Baltimore City with a closed mind and a closed heart.
Got it.
Comparing
so this is right
out-
on the heels of you basically saying, hey, I'm going to leave skateboarding.
Totally. Yeah. About 2 months after.
Got it.
And I went in there focusing only on the differences, not the similarities.
Of course,
proving a point why I didn't belong. And
you went there out of a resentment.
100%.
Yeah.
Nothing about me was going there for an altruistic.
Yeah, you did not think you had a problem.
No.
Yeah.
I thought you had a fucking problem. They had a problem, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Legit.
Real.
Yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Looking back, the ignorance that I possessed, right? Like, I had no idea the world of pain that I was about to embark on.
Right. How long did you stay in that treatment?
I completed it for 30 days.
Okay, cool.
And the funny thing about that is, and this was like one of the most profound experiences.
Do you remember some like pieces from that?
This is the one piece that I'll never forget, and I talk about it often when I give talks. So I met outside by this very nice elderly woman, and she said, are you Mr. Novak? And I said, yes. She said, come with me, sweetheart. And she takes me into this cafeteria. And the cafeteria is a big cafeteria, but it's completely empty. There's not a soul in sight. And there's these like real big, bright interrogation style lights shining down on me. I'm ill as a research monkey. I'm detoxing off heroin at this moment. And she said, wait right here. I'll be back. And she leaves, and I don't know where this older black gentleman walks into this empty cafeteria, and he walks directly up to me. And he said, white boy, what are you doing here? And I said, heroin. He said, how old are you? 17. And he looked me straight in my face and he said, do yourself a favor and don't turn 18 in a place like this. And as quick as he came, he left.
Yeah.
He nor I had no idea that the significance that simple conversation was ever going to have in my life, right? Those seeds being planted unbeknownst to me. At the time, focusing on the differences, comparing out, proving a point why I don't belong. What I can tell you about that man is where the 4 teeth were placed in his mouth. Because at the time I had all mine. He's black, I'm white. He's 70 to 75, I'm 17. He smokes crack. I successfully do heroin. He's homeless. I live with my fucking mother and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
God bless that man. I'm so grateful he found the answer he's in search of. I swear to God, I'll never forget this. But what I can't tell you about that place was my therapist's name, those relapse prevention package they're fucking shoving down my throat, the healthy and unhealthy boundaries they're trying to instill in me. Because if I could tell you about those things, that means I can relate to being one of you people. And after all, I look at you as my father. Fuck you. Can't stand you. But nonetheless, I complete 30 days of treatment. I complete them. And I don't turn 18 in a place like that, as the guy warned me not to do. Right? So immediately, I go back to, what a fucking old junkie fool. Just like my father, another old fucking junkie who's going to continuously lie to me, thinks they can predict my future. Fuck you. Ugh. But I turned 21. 22, 24,
I was going to say, you spent a lot of
27,
birthdays.
29, 32, 33, 35, 36, 37, 38 in a jail or a treatment center.
Yeah.
And every year I'd think back to that older gentleman. No matter what fucking bunk of a cell of a jail I was in or a bed of a facility I was in. And I'd say to myself, if I just would have listened to him with an open heart and open mind.
Yeah, you skipped 18.
I totally, I proved him wrong, right? I showed him the shortcut.
18. Yeah.
Me walking here today. Fuck.
Yeah, just rack every other birthday up. Yeah.
And throughout that process that I was entitled to, that if anyone would have robbed me of, I very well might not be the man of God I am today. Things could have been different, but I started to accept responsibility for my actions, and it was slow, right? And it was patient, and it was, sometimes grain of sand by grain of sand, but nonetheless I started to like look at my behaviors and seeing the behavioral pattern that continuously repeated itself. And it allowed me to like ultimately stop lying to me. And what I recognized was for the better part of 17, 18 years, all I did was rearrange the furniture on the Titanic.
Yeah, right.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
I would put this person in this place for this time to get this out, and then at the end, I had nothing left to try. Right. I was tried out. The bank was closed. There was no more loans to be had, and everybody, thank God, everyone felt that it was best to love me from a distance. And rightfully so. Like, and that's what it took. I had to be completely stripped of anything that would distract me from my primary purpose, which generally comes through money, property, prestige, and pussy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I had to be removed from all that, 38 years old, sitting in a state-funded treatment center, literally clothes tied on by a shoestring. A part of my story that I just didn't bring into this is at the very end, I'm homeless. I'm sleeping in this park in Baltimore. Bam had kicked me out. Jackass was done.
Bam had been trying to help you.
Yeah, he had attempted to help me a lot of times, and I had burnt every bridge.
Right.
And now I'm back to where it all began. I'm homeless, sleeping in this park in Baltimore City, and I come to one morning, and there's this woman, and she sends me a DM, and she said, I read your book. It saved my life. What do you say about an all-exclusive paid trip to Fort Lauderdale? And I'm like, yeah, rad. Let's. I need some heroin, some cocaine, some Xanax, some wine.
Yeah.
No problem, she says. So red flag number one. My book saved her life, but she's gonna give me substances that kill mine.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't even fucking want my life at this point. A little bit more research prevails that she lives in a hotel. It's not a good look. And then a little bit more research prevails that she is like a lady of the night or a dancer. The two things I have no problem with. I've seen me do both those for $10.
Yeah.
Straight up. But she has two requirements that I must fulfill when I touch down in Fort Lauderdale. Mind you, she's paying for the everything. 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 When I get there, she wants to party and she wants to fuck. And when I shoot dope, I do neither. I sleep.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like gonna wear my welcome out really quick, and I don't want to go to Fort Lauderdale. It's hot. It's sandy. I don't know the hustles. Like Baltimore is where I belong. It's a fucking 4-block radius. It's where I excel. But nonetheless, I'm possessed with this disease that no longer allows me to make decisions for myself. Right? Like it tells me what, when, where, and with whom I'll do this with. Fuck it. I have to go to the airport. But before I go to the airport, now at this point, I'm a homeless dope fiend, and I'm supposed to meet up with my parole officer that day, the following day. And my parole officer's name is Matt Pfeiffer. His nickname is Max Amount Matt, to give you an idea of the kind of guy that I'm working with.
Yeah.
So I believe that if I look good enough and I show up for Matt, he'll take mercy on me and not violate me. So I get dressed to impress for a homeless dope fiend. And what this looks like then is a very similar kind of pair of dress slacks like these, but you overlook like all the cigarette hole burns, right? And I don't have
the nod mark.
Yeah. And I don't wear underwear. I was like a fucking dope fiend. So and I had this like button-up shirt on. And I had these, at one point in time, nice pair of Brooks Brothers shoes, but I had lost a shoestring along the way. So before I get on the flight to go to Fort Lauderdale, because I'm intending on making it back tomorrow morning to actually see Matt Pfeiffer and piss, right? Like I believe that I can make this timeline, which is literally impossible. I got to go cop from the boys. And when I go to cop from the boys, before I board this fucking 3-hour flight that I don't want to be ill on, they rob me as opposed to serve me.
No.
So when they rob me, they rip my front and my back pockets completely out.
No.
Now my dick and my ass are completely exposed. They rip my shirt open, and the only button that stays buttoned is this very top button. And I got these shoes on, one shoestring, and I'm now roaming the streets of West Baltimore looking like a gay East LA cholo gangbanger. And I can't change because all I own is 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, a stick of deodorant, a needle, a spoon, restraining order, and a passport. So I'm like, fuck. I hurry up and I run to the airport because I'm on a tight timeline. I still believe I'm gonna make it back by 8 a.m. to produce this urine for my parole officer. And now it's a red-eye flight that I'm catching to Fort Lauderdale to give you an idea of how out of my mind I am. But I get to the line and I get up to the airport and I get to the counter and I get up to the line and 2 things I've learned in my career is I never went in an argument with a judge or a TSA airport security agent. So when I get up to the line, the woman says, "Mr. Novak, are you under the influence of anything?" And I say no, and she said, "I believe you are. You will not fly for 3 days, 72 hours, not like the next flight or tomorrow morning."
Yeah.
And that was like the first time I recognized where I was divinely inconvenienced in my story because I didn't want to get on that flight.
Yeah,
my heart was beating like I just shot 50 kilos of cocaine. I swear to God, I did not want. I foresaw my future. And I said, if I get on this flight, like I'm not coming back. Like I knew it. I fucking knew it. And I've been denied a lot of flights throughout my career, but this one, like I couldn't say no. I didn't want to go. God, I feel it in my tongue right now. I didn't want to go, but I could not go. And when she denied me access, I got on a line and I called one of my sponsors that I acquired through one of my many attempts at getting sober. Because I'd always get like these therapists that were very easy on the eye. And I'd always believe that they were dying to fuck me. So I always had to adhere to all the suggestions they gave so I could let them know that I was going to be like the husband of the fucking year when we do marry. So I'd always listen to what they said. So like, get a sponsor, go to meetings. Like I would do that shit. I'd fall into line. And I call one of these sponsors that I acquired to sweep one of my therapists off her feet. And I'm like, dude, I'm stranded at BWI airport and I want to kill myself. And he goes, no, you're going to get on a train. You'll come back to Philly. This is Memorial Day, 2015. You'll come back to Philly. And in the beginning, remember, I wanted no part of what you sober people had. You were my father. Fuck you. Proving a point while I'll never be you bums. Now at the end, you people are the only ones that will accept my goddamn calls. You're the only ones that are welcoming me with a smile on your face. You're the last.
Titanic left you with one life.
And I don't even want it. And I don't fucking want it. I don't want it. I don't. I still don't want it. But no one else. And you won't even give me fucking $10. I'm like fucking stuck with you by force, and I'm sober throughout it. And you Memorial Day, you leave your cookouts, you leave your loved ones, your families, your kids, and you come pick up this helpless, hopeless alcoholic, and you allow me to stay with you, and you take me to see my parole officer in the morning, and he grants me one more chance. And he sends me back to that state-ran facility that I walked into on May 25th. And I walked in literally with the gay East LA cholo gangbanger outfit on because my sponsor is really big on you never get between an alcoholic and their bottom. You never, ever, ever get between an alcoholic and their bottom. Therefore, he would not allow anyone give me a change of clothes. So I literally had to. So
he's like, no, you're walking in it.
Legit, And they listen because he's like, everyone fucking respects the man, and rightfully so. And I go in, and they give me another chance, and I remember sitting in the same intake chair with the same intake coordinator because I had attempted to get sober at this facility 4 times previously over my 13 overall attempts. And usually what this conversation would look like, she'd say, at the end I had a Medicaid, a state-funded Cadillac of Medicaids then because you would get a guaranteed 90 days out of this. And she'd say, well, Mr. Novak, your insurance will cover you for 90 days. And I, without fail, I'd say, in theory, 90 days sounds great. But in reality, I'm more of like a 45-day-ish kind of fella.
90's great.
In theory, I'm with you. But in reality, I have this fucking girl I have to fuck. I have this job I have to finish. I have this state I have to conquer. And on May 25th, I had finally experienced that overwhelmingly pain that I just didn't want to feel anymore, that I talked about. And I sat in the same chair with the same coordinator. And for the first time, she gave me that offer that I couldn't come back with a counter offer to. Like, I literally was beaten speechless by my disease. Thank God. And all I could do was shake my head yes. And she said, sweetheart, you're in no condition to do your intake. Get up to detox. We'll circle back in a week.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
I take my 8 scarves, the jacket, the doubles my pillow, and my fucking gay East LA gangbanging outfit, and I'm walking up to detox. And again, like the furniture, there's this 22-year-old tech named Brian who is always fucking there. And he goes, Mr. Novak, you're back. I said, aren't you a fucking genius, Brian?
Yeah.
Nothing gets past you. He said, Mr. Novak, I regret to inform you, but your clothes are not rehab oriented. You need some underwear. You need some sweatpants. You need some slides. My mother's a nuclear physicist. My brother's an attorney in the White House. Fucking first skateboarder endorsed by Gatorade at 14. Touring the world with Pal Peralta at 15 and Tony Hawk. In Jackass, in Viva La Bam. Later on, become a New York Times top 10 seller of an autobiography addiction memoir. I did some pretty credible shit throughout my career in between shooting speedballs, right? Yeah. The sad reality of what my life became was on May 25th, 2015, I found myself in the basement of a Catholic Charities rehab that cost me $2 of a copay to get into, with a 22-year-old fucking boy, as he makes me hold his cell phone, as he rummages through this donations box, and there's no electricity, and I'm holding the phone, and he's looking to try to find me used underwear, and I'm praying to God that he does. Right. He doesn't find me any used underwear, but what he finds me is a pair of size 40 women's sweatpants with no drawstring, a woman's tank top, and a pair of size 13 Jesus sandals. Yeah. And on the day that I thought was by far the worst day of my fucking life, and I've had some really bad days in my life, little did I know it was turning out to be the best day of my life, and I've had some really rad days in my life. 2 things that were forever going to change the course of my history at that moment, or future, was as he hands me the women's clothes and the shoes that are not intended for my feet, I went from possessing that job that consisted of knowing everything to realizing that, you know what I do know is that I have no fucking idea. And the very second thing that took place that literally has now been the reason for all of my life is, and I didn't know it at the time, right? But life being lived forward and learned backwards, it's evident, it's fucking glaring, it's jarring, is that on that day that I thought was the worst day of my life, I met the God of my understanding face to face in a Catholic Charities rehab that cost me $2 to get into as a direct result of that gift of desperation. And when he handed me the women's clothes and the shoes that did not fit, I was overcome with a sense of willingness unlike anything has ever been able to produce since. And I was never so excited to go upstairs, get a shower, get that Baltimore City smell off me, and put women's clothing on in my life. And the willingness just fucking overrode anything that I was like hesitant about. Right? Go fucking pray to God and then fucking jerk off to Satan. Cool, let's do it. Like there was no more like, let me think. I was like, fuck off. Fuck off. I'm 38, man. I bought everything that I own right now, which is nothing. So like, why don't you do me the privilege and honor of giving me your time without me taking advantage of it and show me a better way? And I fucking treated it and respected it and appreciated it as it should have been.
Right.
And I've remained steady on that course since then, because they told me, if you stick to the basics, kid, there's no reason you'll ever have to go back to the basics.
Exactly.
And knowing that I'm an accessories whore and I get lost in the glitz and glamour of any fucking thing. 10 years later, I still do what I did fucking 2 days into a facility. I don't really get too far off my mark. And more importantly, I just have a really, really, really continuous, consecutive relationship with my higher power. That's in control of all of this.
Right.
So today I always say this thing works when I don't work it.
Yeah.
Right. When I get the fuck out of my way, remove myself from the equation and surround myself with like really solid, thorough people, my life is really rad.
Yeah.
But the moment I interject and believe that I know what's best, then I end up fucking me and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, I feel that.
Hey, so what did that look like that last time going in there? You know, you get through that first, take a shower, you're in the women's clothes, and then what did that experience look like? Did you stay the 90 days? And
to the day, they literally could not have kept me 91 days. I swear to God, they ran that fucking insurance to the bill. 90 days, and you know, drastic times call for drastic measures. I could have used 180 for sure.
Right.
But from there, I then go to a sober living house because that sponsor that I had, who had 12 years at the time, told me he did it out here in California. And again, I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah, yeah.
I just bought.
Yeah. What did you do? I'm gonna follow that.
Yeah. And I went and I lived in a sober living for a year. And my get well job was working at a diner called Mary Ann's in Levittown, Pennsylvania. And I was washing dishes for $6 an hour under the table.
Amazing.
You know, and I had heard that word humility, and it was great for you all, but I never really experienced it. Because at the time, while busting suds for $6 an hour next to a 15-year-old coworker named Chris, I believed I should have been the president of the United States at the very fucking least, right? Yeah. But that job taught me how to conduct myself in this weird thing called society, which is an acquired taste anyways, and hard enough to do without drugs. It taught me to like not call out from work because that's not fair for Chris to have to wash the dishes because I don't feel like getting out of bed. It taught me how to like take pride in washing those dishes. It taught me how to take my $6 an hour to then open up my very first own bank account at TD Bank. With a checking account. And then I started paying my own $165 a week in rent at Sober Living, which then shifted to bi-weekly. And I started paying monthly. Then I was able to open my very first pre-secured credit card, all while living in that Sober Living house. And that pre-secured credit card has since turned into, 4 credit cards, one with no limit and a 784 credit score. Right. And this is me just dumbing my way in to society. I literally just fucking said, what I know is I don't know. And I just started showing up, and people like, when I'm showing up for me, people will show up in droves for me. Right. But I just have to, I always say 90% of the fight is fucking coming to the table. Right. Even coming here today, I thought of 15 excuses as to why I didn't want to come today. You know, that's the way I'm wired. For sure. Anything that's good for me. Wake up early, fuck no, I'd rather sleep till 12. Eat healthy, I'd rather eat a fucking cheesesteak. Right. Eat vegetables, fuck off, I'd rather shoot coke. Like that's just the way I'm wired. Right. But then if I think less and do more, this thing gets quieter. Yeah. And it's cool, man. Yeah. It's cool. None of this was done by my doings. Right. You know.
So you spent a year in that sober living.
Yeah. And I remember I went and gave my 2 weeks notice to that restaurant, Mary Ann's, Rich, the owner, and he looked at me and he goes, you know, I hate to say this, but you're really going to regret this. And it was really nice. What a fitting fucking thing to say, because no one wanted me to stay. At the end, everyone felt that it was best to love me from a really big distance. So the fact that, like, you know, they were, and I would want me to stay too. I was an asset to his organization.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't steal his time. I didn't rob his fucking register. I didn't steal food out of the back. Like I was I'd want an employee like me then and now. I'm not the man I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And like, I which is tough because now I expect others to have the work habits that I have.
For sure.
And I need to.
And they don't. Yeah, they don't.
That could be a whole
Most
other
don't.
fucking thing. Nice try, fucking Satan. Now you started going there. I'm like, you know what? Fuck off.
Yeah. No, goddamn, that's so true.
Yeah.
So your sobriety date is
May 25th
of 2015.
Yeah. So God willing, may I have 10 years.
Wow.
And so what did life look like after that first year? After you moved out of sober living? Then
sober living was the best time of my life.
I loved sober living.
It was my favorite time. It's the greatest ever.
Sober living. Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. Well, camaraderie's at the highest.
Yeah. And I was in Oxford. We didn't have like a house manager. That was the only one I could afford. And I remember hearing all these things about Oxford. I got so blessed to be in like the best fucking house with these women that literally taught me how to live my life and like hold myself accountable. Changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Timing, alignment affords you opportunities, people, and places.
Yeah.
You take advantage of it. My sober house was one that I own sober houses, and I wouldn't even let any of mine run this way.
Yeah.
It was literally, you could pay rent and fucking just live there for as long as you paid the rent.
Right.
There was no house manager. There was no like urine test. It just ran itself.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is what I needed at the time. Now I would never run any of my things that way, but it worked.
But it worked for
We
you.
had
Yeah.
a great group of people.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It
Right.
worked. And when we want to piss someone, we have to go to like a legit house and get a test from them. But it worked.
Yeah.
And I always say, because everyone's what's the best treatment center? What's the this? What's the that? If I took you to where I got sober, you'd be like, there's no way anyone could get sober there.
Yeah.
I'm really of that notion. You could get fucking sober in a bar.
For sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's just the perfect treatment is whichever one you get sober in.
Right.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it.
Right.
And who the fuck am I to think that I have the answer? Fuck me. The arrogance of me thinking that I, with a fucking minuscule coming up on 10 years sober, think that I have this guide to a perfect life and do this and you'll fucking ride off into the sunset. My resume reads 22 years of IV heroin use, 13 inpatient treatment centers, lost count of outpatients and detoxes. My mother bought me a plot. People took life insurance policies out on me. Life support for 7 days. My mother sold 3 homes to pay for me to go to 2 treatment centers. Medevac to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states from 4 different overdoses. At the end of my addiction, I was fucking letting men blow me just to acquire a few more bucks to get one more bag during the day, and night times were spent sleeping in a shooting gallery. How fucking dare I think that at almost 10 years, like I have the answer? Fuck you. Fuck me.
Yeah.
That's how I... Dude, in this world of mine, of harm reduction and recovery, here's the truth to me. There's no margin for error, yet it's impossible to do perfect.
Yeah.
So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like, good fucking luck.
Yeah, what a conundrum.
I'm a fan of anything, because who am I to say it's not the thing?
Same.
Straight up. If you think 180 milligrams of methadone will provide you a life that you are happy, content with, that makes you want to get out of bed every morning and not kill yourself for, I'll drive you to the fucking clinic.
Yeah.
Who am I to say that's not the way? If you would have robbed me of my process of one less night of my mother crying herself to sleep, one less jail visit, one less incarceration stay, one less heartbroken as a direct result of my addiction, I very well might not be afforded the opportunity to help the amount of people that I help today.
Right.
Right? Like, that's God's job, man.
Yeah.
That's God's job. And at the end of the day, it's like, where's my spirituality if I judge your spirituality?
Right.
Acceptance is the answer to all. I was incarcerated for a year. I fasted with the Muslims. My cellie's name was Jihad. He was the head of the Muslim crew. We then sniffed blow after the week of Ramadan. I go to Greece, and I went to this place called the Holy Mountain. It's only men are allowed on this mountain, and it's just monasteries and monks, and you have to be sponsored by a monastery with monks. And I went, and I'd wake up every morning at 3 a.m. and I'd recite these Gargarian chants until 11 a.m. and eat bread and fish and fucking sometimes shower in this outhouse. Just like, I'm all about any kind of religious experience.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Damn.
I'll do it all.
So where did life take you after that first year? How did you get to where you are now? Like,
so after that first year, I remember I was washing dishes and I was really upset at that outcome. And I was like, how did this be the end all be all? Right? Like, anything could have happened, but this? And my co-author came to me one day and he said, look, Novak, don't worry. This is only temporary. We don't know what the next step is, but it's only temporary. Because I remember being in that facility and they had like a family liaison, a therapist. Her name was Amy. And she brought me into her office right before I was being discharged. And she was kind of the woman that helped you out with your aftercare of like, what will you do for work? Where will you live? And at this time, I had no high school diploma. I got my GED in the penitentiary. My resume read addiction, skateboarding, and jackass. Mm-hmm. Nothing you could really like use for a resume to do anything normal. And she's like, what are you good at? What do you like to do? And I didn't know. It had been so long since anyone like asked me what I like to do and what am I good at. And I remember saying, well, like I'd like to maybe volunteer at a shelter for pets. And it's like, okay, but you have to pay your rent. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe like a retirement community or a hospice. And she's like, it's a fucking terrible idea. She's like, there's a lot of like death and sadness, and it might be a little too traumatic for you fucking freshly completed 90 days treatment. So, but I had no direction. I had no guidance. I had no idea what my future held. And someone from my team, my assistant at the time, who didn't like turn his back on me, he made a call and got me set up for an interview at that diner, because my humility and my pride would never allow me to go there and do that.
Do it, yeah.
Right? Because in my mind, I'm a fucking legend. In reality, I'm just a fucking 38-year-old dope fiend. I'm really disconnected from reality. But they showed up and they helped me get this gig. And I'm washing these dishes, and I get a promotion from washing dishes to waiting tables. I stay there for 1 year. I created a timeline of what my recovery was going to look like in regards to that, because I said after a year of living in a sober house, I wanted to live in my own place. I didn't want to like fall victim to just like being okay with the bare minimum. Not that anything's wrong with that.
No,
but
totally.
I wanted like more for myself. Yeah. So literally right around my year anniversary, I receive a phone call, well, a DM or something. Throughout this time, people started asking me to speak at like AA meetings. And that's cool. And then my name kind of starts spreading around, but it's AA meetings. So you don't really know what's happening. You just hear. And then someone asks me to speak at like a candlelit vigil, which is like more of a public thing. And someone was filming it. And that started making its rounds on the internet. And it landed in the hands of someone who was a big fan of my work previously, who worked at a particular facility in Florida. And they had this one facility had like at the time 10 nationwide. They were a really big they are a big organization. And he said, hey, we saw that you're like speaking. Would you like to come speak to our clients? And I'm still living in a sober house waiting tables. And I'm like, yeah. Cut to, I'm on a plane. They fly me down there. They put me in the penthouse of the W in Fort Lauderdale. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm waiting tables. Are they going to ask me for some kind of donation? Like, they're like really laying out the red carpet. I'm not sure what they're expecting here with this whole deal. And they take me to see all of their levels of operation. They see the housing, the detox, the res, And then I speak to the clients, and right before I'm ready to leave, my handler, the guy who initially reached out to me, he said, I started to see the organization. I started to like it. And I remember being in detox, and I saw Chris Herring's video. Chris Herring played for the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics. He's a fucking beast of a speaker. And I remember being in detox, and then it had his video playing, and it was the first time that I could relate to something. And I started crying, and I walked out. And I'll never forget, I believed that, like, although I didn't believe in me, I believed in what he was saying. And through believing in him, I believed that maybe I too could get to where he's at, because he had a fucking crazy story.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
Cut to a year later, I'm down there, I'm seeing this organization, not really happy with washing dishes or waiting tables, have no idea what the next move is going to be, but my co-author told me that it was only temporary. I took pride in showing up. I showed up 15 minutes early. I stayed 15 minutes late, like I was a good employee to my employer. And he said, I said, hey, you know that guy Chris Herring? I'd like to do what he does, but for you guys. Because I was always fascinated with like speaking and like traveling around, but it takes a team of people to do that. I have no idea how to assemble that. And he goes, oh, well, the owner will be here. We're having a final dinner at the steakhouse. The owner will be here tonight. Ask him. So the owner comes, and I said, hey, repeat what I just said to you. And he said, well, we didn't fly you here for nothing. They had put together literally that whole plan. And at this table, he said, well, what's the salary that you'd be comfortable with? Now, I had no idea that any kind of work within this treatment industry world existed. I'm of the notion of 30-day inpatient, one-stop shop, you're done. Not the levels of care, that there's even a fucking way to make a living throughout this. And I've been honest from this point forward. And I'm like, I don't know a number. I'm waiting tables for fucking $3 an hour at a sober house where I pay $165 a week. And you're asking me like a salaried number, and they gave me a number, and it was a very low number, but at the time I was very excited for that low number because it was a lot higher than the number that I was receiving while fucking collecting tips at a diner. And I took advantage of that, and I ran with it, and I stayed there, and I have like a very nice company credit card, and they really put a lot of money in building my brand, and they hired teams of people to film my content, to edit my stuff, and a social media team, and we did it, and we did it really good, and I loved it, and I became completely engulfed in it, and that worked really well. And one thing that I've learned in my sobriety is to never, for me, and everyone's at their own place in their own journey, but for me, I became like a really thorough workhorse, and I know that like I can always do more, be better, help broader amounts, and then I got to a place where I started to like me, I started to love me, I started to believe in me, and I started to see my self-worth through my people who always pushed and motivated me. And I said, you know, I've got to a place where I think it's time for me to branch out and open my own facility. And I opened my first sober living house around 5 years sober. That one house has since now turned into 7 houses with 74 beds. And a big why behind my cause is it's a really run-of-the-mill 12-step sober living community where I charge $190 a week cash pay. And I do a lot of events to raise a lot of funding to provide scholarships for anyone in need. I refuse to let price be a deterrent as to why someone can't continue on their journey of recovery upon completion of an inpatient program. I am a product of a scholarship. When I got here, I had burnt every bridge to the ground. I didn't end up here because I had hit the mega millions and I had access to funds that I didn't know what to do with. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to do what people did for me. And the houses are great. And they just continue to grow and evolve. And it really, I always joke that my goal was to create a David Koresh Waco, Texas compound minus the guns and religion, which I've kind of done. All the houses are like within a 3-block radius, somewhere across the street, top of the corner. And then I knew that I could do more, and I then opened up a PHP program in Delaware. In May this year, it will be 2 years, and we have a really beautiful organization and community there, and I'm now on schedule to have another facility open in Jersey, ironically enough, in May as well. May seems to be a good year for me.
Good month.
Good month. And I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I'm happy. I'm content, and I enjoy me. Yeah. And that's great, but it's also like a curse because I'm a 46-year-old single man that lives with 3 cats.
Well, I was gonna say, what's your life look like today?
Yeah, it's fucking strange. It's pretty busy. It's pretty hectic. It's pretty docile. I'm married to the game, man. I'm married to the fact that, like, if I want to get on a plane and fly to London tonight, I can, in order to help somebody or do whatever I believe in. That could totally change tomorrow. But selfishly, I love my selfishness way too much to let something get me out of that. Yeah. But I don't do it for the wrong reason. Like I believe in what I do, and I don't like to not be able to do what I want to do.
Right.
But that will change. You know, I don't like loud noises now. I don't like big groups of people. I believe I was a cat in my past life, meaning that I like to know what's going on with things, but without being in the mix. I like to pick and choose who I give my attention to. I like to leave when I want to leave. When I'm not traveling, I eat the same thing every fucking day. And I sometimes keep strange hours. So it's all fucking very similar to a cat's characteristics.
That's so interesting.
But I'm cool, dude. My mother's my best friend.
That's right.
I live to just hang with her. She's like,
so
you're
cool.
sick. You're perverted. All you do is follow your mother around and take pictures and film her. And I'm like, you're kind of right. I have a fucking problem. But she's like, she's everything to me. And I believe for me, that's what recovery is, the repair of relationships and family components that I intentionally initially pissed away because it interfered with me shooting dope.
Right.
So now, you know, she's 83 and I drive to Baltimore to get her in the shower regularly. I take her grocery shopping. I'm taking her to see Rod Stewart next month. I'm just
amazing.
Down for the cause, man. But I love helping people. Again, came into it as a king, worked my way up the ladder to be a servant, and that's when my life is best.
Yeah,
and I have
incredible,
people that
man.
like my company, man. I actually like people's company, and I'm welcome back. And I don't destroy relationships. And people actually, it's weird because if people see me in a way that I don't see me, I think, you know what I mean? In my mind, I'm still waiting for the fucking grown up to show up and handle everything. But I have like staff, I have employees, I have fucking properties, I have fucking things, and I'm like, dude, I'm still waiting for someone to
like, are you sure?
make sure this is a
That's how I feel every day. I'm like, are you
totally
sure?
When do I grow up?
When
does that happen?
That was also an issue that I had, and I'm in therapy for now, is like that imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, that's fucking heavy.
That's a big thing for me.
Yeah,
there was, and it's not as, but it still is.
Yeah,
and that's a tough thing to for me, because there's a million people that want to point out my flaws and defects.
Right.
And that was funny because I was like, dude, I got to create ownership, because at any day this rug can be pulled out. I've created ownership and I'm still waiting for the fucking rug to be pulled out. And I'm like, dude, the fuck?
Yeah.
And
Work in progress, you know?
Yeah.
Never ends.
Yeah, man. Great story.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate
so much
it.
for coming.
This was fun. This was enjoyable, right? Like, I'm on rain. I'm like, it's raining. And I had nothing else to do, right? And I was like, I'm really excited about the ice bath and the sauna. But my brain just talks me out of
My brain is like that. heavy
thing.
too. I have to fucking battle it and gaslight myself every day. Usually my first thought, like I have to be like, okay, I have to do the opposite of whatever my brain is telling me to do. If I wake up, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to chair this meeting. Fuck, I don't want to do this. I want to lay on my couch and watch Netflix all fucking day. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anyone. That's always like my first initial thing. And then that means I got to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Of whatever my instinct is to do.
If you call me, I get annoyed.
Same.
At your name on my phone. Now I have a resentment towards you. You're just fucking calling me.
But then when you get off the phone, so for me too, like when my anyone calls me, first if my phone makes a noise, my phone's on do not disturb. And then if I get a fucking notification through that, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, notify anyways.
I feel better every time.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I force myself to answer, and every single fucking time I feel so much better. I'm like, and then I'm proud of myself. I'm like, you fucking did that. You know, you were supposed to do that and you did it. Totally. You didn't let it fucking ring. You didn't send it to voicemail.
But my OCD won't allow me to do it. So I'll do it immediately, and I'm angry throughout the process of it.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
And I get so many texts that like I have to respond immediately or else they fall by the wayside.
Right. Yeah. Oh God, I'm terrible with that.
Which is another problem for me because then I can't pause when agitated. Because I'm so ingrained to I have to respond now or else you're gonna get lost in the mix. You're gonna think I'm a dickhead.
Yeah.
So then if you say something that annoys me and I
that happens
should refrain,
to me a lot. That happens to me a lot.
I'm so ingrained at responding that I'm like, why the fuck did I just do that?
I'm ingrained at not responding. So
I wish I could do that.
No, I don't actually though, because I feel terrible about it. And then I'm like, fuck, 3 weeks goes by and this person has texted me.
No, I'm talking about like if you say something that I don't necessarily agree with, like impulsively. It's hard for me to bite my tongue or I'm getting a little is a lot for me, but it's a bitch.
Yeah. We're all working on it, you know?
Well, that's the thing. I'm aware that it exists.
Right.
Ignorance is no longer bliss. I know that that's an issue of mine that I need to deal with.
It's also an interesting world to be in as an employer too, right? Now you've got a bunch of people that work for you and you know, it's a different.
The stakes are a little higher.
Yeah, it's different.
Thank God I have a lot of people between me and my employees. My clinical director, she's a fucking beast. Because I'm again, like, let's do this. Let's make it happen now. And that's not really how the most of the world goes about things.
For sure.
And they're patient and they talk about it today and then they regroup about it on Friday. And I'm like, we're going to do all of this in the next 10 minutes now. And that's just not the right way to go about it. Because I have to keep in mind like that the most important people in my equation are the clients that I serve. And my organizations are built on the back of very sick people. It's the fact of the matter. And the moment that I forget that it's all about serving them, then my shit is shit. So understanding that, I have to think of a way to display this information or relay it in a matter that you'll, as staff members, accept it, do well with it, so then it then lands to the most important people, the client, who are the sickest of all, in a welcoming manner. Because like if I'm a dickhead and then I relay that to you, it's gonna fall victim to the worst people in the world, which are the clients, and they don't deserve any of it. And it sets off this whole chain of events that it's like, so now I have to be very diplomatic in how I go about it. And so I spend more time in my office. On the third floor. I had to create some distance, man.
No, you do. For sure.
Because people, even the clients like Novak, and I'm like, fuck, I'll just say yes to anything. And then, and I'm like, dude, I'm an empath and I take on people's energy. So I have to like
create some space.
So I'm like, dude, I need more time in my office. And I didn't fuck up. Everything's exactly how it's supposed to be. But I hired a lot of my friends, some people that I sponsor, people from the program. It's great, but again, then I place these expectations on them to have the same work ethics I have, or to want to to do as good for my organization as I want to do for it.
sure.
I need to remember, like,
It's different.
They don't fucking own it.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
it's not their, and it's just it is what it is.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot. You know,
you learn a lot of lessons as a.
I've learned a lot about me.
Sure, yeah.
But they say you want to learn about your defects of character, get into a fucking relationship.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna create a whole bunch of businesses and have a whole bunch of relationships. Although I'm a single man in my private life,
Right.
I have like,
But in the professional life, you have all of these. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I have to do this and
That's
still
very
make
similar,
sure
yeah.
everyone's happy
Yeah.
throughout the process.
It's a lot.
And everyone feels like overworked and underpaid.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
just the nature of even I do, and I'm the owner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just how it goes. Everyone
Yeah.
gets a turn though.
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah.
it. So I just
Yeah.
come in and act completely insane, and because I have to give off that energy.
Yeah.
If I don't, who else will?
Yeah.
And I have to tell my clinical director, I'm like, look, I know that you think I'm insane, and I actually am not, and I'm really logical, but I just got to create this energy, so when I leave, it carries on.
Yeah.
Or else it's
Yeah.
just like, fuck, it's drab. You'd think I'd shot a speedball on some mornings when I walk into my office.
Yeah.
I'm like, fucking
In it.
do it.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah.
High on life.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Well, fuck yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
This was
bro.
fun, man.
Yeah,
I
thank you so
I
much.
came and I spoke at your
Bonfire,
I love your what you've created here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's a lot of similarities, I believe, between you and I.
Yeah.
You too have seemed to have created that David Koresh Waco compound
Yeah,
vibe.
that was the dream.
Yeah.
Man.
I see it. And mine's very similar. We've created a Wednesday night meeting too at my facility. We went through Intergroup, and so again, just trying to create this like open, safe sanctuary space.
What's this idea of like how do you create these watering holes that are
where people want to be?
Right, and they're free and accessible in perpetuity, where people get to come and dress up and meet somebody and
look forward to it.
That's what I mean. Like, it's that thing that's like
in a community that's wired to just isolate, disconnect, disassociate on any given Monday. Right. How do we do the exact opposite of that and make them actually want to be a part of this process?
Right.
And then it's like our responsibility. It's like, okay, we're the it's our job to keep that fertile ground, that soil tilled, right? And to keep the lights on and to, do what we can to steer the ship so that those watering holes are always there. Yeah. Right. And so that, I think that's our responsibility, you know what I mean? And then you watch these incredible things just grow from that, right? Where like relationships happen or people get married and fucking now they're having kids and they're fucking, you know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, this like soup, you know what I mean? Has like created all this, layers of connection that have, that are rippling now through generations of, new people.
We had a wedding in the back of our first sober living house.
Oh, it's amazing.
I love that.
See, that's sick. I mean, that's like,
I was never more of a fan of anything like that.
Right. I love those are like, because that's the random miracle shit. You know what I mean? You can't predict that. You can't. No. It's not shit that you can make happen. It just it happens.
And statistics state, theoretical evidence dictates that all three of us are to be high or dead right now. Right? Those are the cold hard numbers, the data, the analytics collected from studies given throughout the world on addiction and, more importantly, recovery. States that we are to be high or dead right now. And the fact that we're not is A, miraculous, equaling a miracle, and B, it defies fucking logic. So to be able to bear witness, to simply just provide a space at a time on a day for two other people that are supposed to be dead or high to meet, fucking buy into sobriety, defeat odds and logic, and then fucking marry each other. If that isn't powerful to me, then I'm not in the right place mentally. And that's the things that are rad. Yeah. Because a lot of these people, myself included, you show up with a fucking shopping bag, a trash bag, and a whole bunch of warrants.
Yeah, a shoelace.
Yeah, with your dick hanging out.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Well, cool. You're about to go fucking sauna and cold plunge.
Yeah, man.
Over at Oasis.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the move.
Yeah, man. I got equally obsessed, man. Saunas and cold plunges. And
You do it often?
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I was like, I opened that place because I'm like, I want to have constant access to it, and I want to be able to let the clients have access to it, and I want to have the guys go on Mondays and the girls go on Fridays, and to have access to that fucking thing that I got addicted to. That I'm like, when my nervous system's fucking shot, and I go sit in a sauna and a cold plunge for an hour, I come out and I'm just fucking zen.
Yeah.
It just kind of it re-regulates me and kind of rearranges me when I myself sometimes can't do it. You know what I mean?
I always say it kind of turns the day into the Matrix for me.
Yeah,
everything slows down.
How long do you guys sit in the plunge? Yeah,
it's different. I mean, I try no matter what. I'm going to do 3 minutes.
I did 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
That's
like
one time.
Yeah,
that was my first time. I did 3 fucking minutes. That's insane to me. I don't know if I could do it
that's
again.
good to do it that way though. So then you can always do 2 minutes.
Right. I guess,
Like you can always if you've started at 3, then you can always do at least.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did like
how long do you do it for?
I do 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. So that's all you need.
It's
just a little.
No, it's 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I'll try to do it twice. Like in an hour, I'll do 30 minutes in the sauna.
3 minutes.
30 minutes sauna first, 3 minutes in the cold, and then I'll go back in the sauna for like 25 minutes, and then back in the cold for another 3. And then like a final little warm up, 5 minutes, and then I'm done.
Yeah. They say it's best to end on cold.
Yeah.
So you've only done it once.
Yeah.
Is enough for you?
Yeah. I've only done it once. I did the sauna, and then I did the cold for 3 minutes, and then I think I did one more cold. I think I went a cold. No, but I definitely ended on heat because I was cold as fuck.
You come out of there.
When I got out of there, I was like,
totally.
Yeah. It takes forever to defrost.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
I just went to I was in the mountains and it was snowing and the whole lake was frozen over, and I like fucking bashed a hole through the ice and did, like
I saw you posted a video of it, right?
I'm like, that was in the Poconos.
I was like, look at Novak out here in the lake.
But then I was in California in Mammoth doing it recently too.
Yeah.
But that's my thing. Like people go to like ski and snowboard, and I just go to like jump in fucking
cold
rivers.
water.
Yeah.
I did it. I was in Mammoth,
mm-hmm.
and I was like looking for all these like really cool places to do it. And I find this water next to this road, and I pull off, and there's these couple were getting married, and they had a photographer, and they're in this like really nice mountain-esque like fucking, and I totally just fucking get naked minus like my fucking underwear, and in the background I just jump in, and then I jump out, and they're kind of like we're really taken off by it. And then literally 2 days later I get a DM. They're like, I'm not sure, but we really believe this you? Was you. And they had a picture of me in the back of their thing.
And you're like, it was me. Yeah. Yeah, I was just in.
I'm that guy. That's the guy I've turned into.
There's this spot in Colorado in Steamboat Spring. Have you ever been to Steamboat?
I used to live in Crested Butte in Gunnison.
Oh, okay.
I was on the run. I went out there, and ended up going to Gunnison County Jail for 6 months.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
So I was out in Steamboat just like 2 months ago, and there's these hot springs there.
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like got some cool little name. And they've got these hot springs, and at the very end, it's just the cold plunge pool. I mean, it's just natural, right?
Yep.
And it's got ice on it and snow, and you swim across in the freezing water, and you get out and you roll around in the snow, you swim back, and then you get back into the heat.
Wow.
And it's just, bro, it was the coolest thing. We hung out there for like 2 hours, 3 hours or something.
Right,
it
for
was
sure.
just like,
that's
just going back and forth and hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Most people don't like it nearly as much as I do, though. So they do it enough.
Yeah, you love that shit.
You're like, chill out.
Yeah,
totally. Like, I just fucking love the high. Dude.
Most women like want no part of it, so they're just like, no, and I just won't leave.
Yeah. Shit.
It's an acquired taste. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me here today. This is
thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.
I hope I did the talk justice.
You did.
You did. I think it'll work, man. You got a good story.